and welcome back. I'm your host Kalyan Deb and we join you live today for the special coverage as polling is currently underway in Meghalaya and Nagaland, where voting began today at 7 a.m. and will continue till 4 p.m. Along with the polling updates, we have been discussing several issues that will play key roles in the voting process. Polling is being carried out for 59 constituencies in Meghalaya and 60 constituencies in Nagaland. Voting began at 7 a.m. and will continue till 4 p.m. Like we mentioned earlier. I would like to mention to our viewers that polling for the Sohyong Assembly constituency in Meghalaya was postponed following the demise of the state's former Home Minister and UDP candidate from the seat, HDR Lingdo. He died of cardiac arrest on February 20. We have numbers till 1 p.m. where 57.06% of voting has already been done in Nagaland, whereas Meghalaya has seen a voter turnout of 44.73%. On your screen are the visuals from Nagaland, where we've been witnessing a large voter turnout since morning itself. People from various walks of life have been lining up to cast their vote. We've seen a large turnout of women voters as well as centenarians, first-time voters and PWD voters as well. On your screen are the visuals from Nagaland. A similar trend was also witnessed in Meghalaya that has seen 44.73% voter turnout till 1 p.m. Here too, a large number of people have turned up to cast their vote, be it youth, be it women voters, be it first-time voters, be it centenarian and senior citizens. A large number of people have gathered outside the polling stations and lined up outside the polling stations to cast their vote. While we were on a break, several political leaders have also cast their vote and spoke to the media some time ago. Let's listen into what they had to say.
Yes, we'll DJ together. Yes.
मैं पे करूंगी अगर हार जाएगा तो Please push me.
Yes, we'll DJ together. Yes.
मैं पे करूंगी अगर हार जाएगा तो Please push me.
You know, I have a big hunch from the reports that we are getting from the ground that the NPP will be a formidable force, and even if we are close to 26, 27, 28, I don't think that there should be any difficulty in establishing ourselves as a party with a big mandate. I don't know. I hope that we will be able to do better. I hope we will be able to do better.
How it's being carried out, the election, because their aim is to have a free, fair and transparent elections.
Sometimes it was unnecessarily very, very pressurizing for candidates, because out of the blue, you know, they would want us to remove simple things like flags from my personal premises. I think that was taking it a little too far, because you are inconveniencing me and so many hundreds of other candidates. So that I thought was not necessary. The other thing was that, you know, the BLOs were not able to, serve all of the slips, voter slips to the voters and constituents across my constituencies adequately. And that slowing down the polls a lot. I have just come from about, out of 15, I have been to about 12 polling, I've been to about 9 polling stations. At about 12:30, quarter to 1, it was as low as 50%. So I hope that we will not have too many late comers to the stations, because then there's going to be a lot of problems. This year, however, in my constituency, there was no slack of EVM machines. So the VVP pads were also doing very well. Overall, it's been a peaceful polling in my constituency. I have not heard of any untoward incident occurring in any other part of the city as well. I feel that there's been a lot of negative reporting about seizure of money, large amounts in various parts of Shillong city and other parts of the state as well, the districts. That is not a good trend, and overall I think the Election Commission has conducted these elections quite smoothly over and above the few errors that we saw here and there.
Your constituency has a total of how many electorates?
We have 25,200 plus. I don't know what the last count was. And it was about 50% till about 12:30, more or less on an average. I hope that voters will come out and cast their votes, because elections are your authority. You are the authorities of your votes, and you should give mandates to candidates. So all of that will come into play. Let us finish till 4 o'clock, and then I'll probably be able to evaluate the kind of voting that went on in my constituency.
I've casted my vote today, and I'm very confident that many people are voting for TMC, and I'm very confident that I'll be winning the seat of the Tujuai constituency.
Dalia, William Nagar constituency, vote Punanio. So big time William Nagar constituency, William Nagar ni Mandirang, all India Trinamool Congress Party na, bang na, bang bata Mandirang ni support ka di ko. Positive response from kuman eblong nga kusyong biya, anga vote pun man na ha, dalo jerangan vote pun ku kuzay nga chum, ya angi nengsangri, tugrek punga nengsangri polling station no, 36% vote rangko vote kas kajok, angi kasara ya polling station in odongeng pa ro dentang William Nagar constituency in odongeng pa, block electorate rangko anga mon na kata namnaka nasimang ni franchise ko exercise ka po ribabo vote punbo anching man dapat 100% vote rangko nachi anching voting rights ko ba franchise ko anching jakhalna ni la ya no dongeng pa ya constituency ni no dongeng pa pe rangko mon na kata pusyong biya pa dan nam ga pa salong china.
आपको कैसा फील हो रहा है?
बहुत अच्छा, बहुत अच्छा।
तो आपको कितना उम्मीद है आपको जीतने के लिए?
तो पूरी उम्मीद है मैं जीत रहा हूँ।
अच्छा, तो ऐसे आपका कौन सा पोलिंग स्टेशन में थोड़ा कमजोरी दिखाई दे रहा है?
मुझे एक भी नहीं लगता कि कोई भी पोलिंग स्टेशन में वीक है।
अच्छा,
हर पोलिंग स्टेशन में मैं जीतने का हूँ।
Sure, don't worry, I'm getting nicely.
We are getting good response from everywhere. We are seeing that people have come out, are coming out in large numbers to vote. Even in South Tura constituency, we have not seen this kind of turnout in the past. So it's a good sign. It's good for democracy, and we are happy to see that people are coming out and casting their vote in this election.
So how do you see the wave this time?
Well, I have already mentioned to you earlier that it's positive, and we're definitely very confident that it will be in our favor. And there's never been ever a free poll alliance with any political party ever. So this election is no different. And in other elections also, campaign has been there against us, and we have campaigned against them. So that is what it happens in election. So it's nothing new.
So those were that was Amperin Lingdo, NPP candidate from East Shillong constituency, and Conrad Sangma soon after they cast their votes in their respective polling stations. We have numbers coming in from both Shillong and Meghalaya and Nagaland. The updated numbers from 3 p.m. At 3 p.m. Meghalaya has seen a voter turnout of 63.57%, whereas in Nagaland it has already touched 72.99%, almost 73% till 3 p.m. These are the numbers coming in from directly from the Election Commission of India, and we can assure you that these are authentic and genuine figures. I repeat, Meghalaya has witnessed a voter turnout of 63.57%, and Nagaland has seen a voter turnout of 72.99% till 3 p.m. We have seen people in large numbers from different walks of life, different age groups lining up to cast their vote in both the states, Nagaland and Meghalaya. We have seen women voters, we have seen senior citizens, we have seen centenarians, first time voters as well, and a lot of youths have also turned up to cast their vote this time. Meanwhile, while we went on a break, several political leaders have also cast their vote at different polling stations across both the states. We saw President Tinseong, Deputy Chief Minister of Meghalaya, Conrad Sangma, Chief Minister of Meghalaya, Amperin Lingdo, and several other political figures cast their vote. So before we went on a break, we were talking about Nagaland and the condition of roads. On your screen, you can see the visuals from eastern Nagaland, where a team of EastMojo had gone there in November, and this was the condition of the road back then. This has been a major problem for most parts of Nagaland, and if you talk about the arterial roads, apart from other districts like Chumukdima, Dimapur and Kohima, most areas are yet to see a black topping. Like we had mentioned earlier, that what exists now are fragments of road and roads that were constructed decades ago. There are construction going on in some parts of the Mon Tuensang highway, but most of it is being done by the Border Roads Organization, because the district is in close proximity with Myanmar. In fact, Noklak, one of the newest district of the state, does not even have a single road with black topping. That is the root cause of all the problems, especially in the eastern Nagaland areas, and that is what we have been discussing before we went on a break. I have with me our executive editor and my colleague Amit Kumar here in the studio. Amit, before we went to the before we went on a break, so we were talking about Frontier Nagaland and the kind of issues and how the road problem is connected to every other problem. We have seen the education taking a major hit. We have seen farming, agriculture, everything in fact. Inflation is also one of the main problems in Nagaland. Everything that costs, for example,
you're not going to get anything at MRP, for example.
Yes.
So this is something, that's what I mean, we discussed before the break also, like, you know. But before that, I'll just comment that the numbers coming from Nagaland are seriously impressive.
Exactly.
This is the data as of 3 p.m. is it, or 2 p.m.?
Yes, 3 p.m.
So as of 3 p.m. we are talking about 70% more, right? More than 70%.
72.99%.
72.9%. So I think at this point Tripura was around 50s, late 50s, if I'm not wrong.
Yes.
Around. So compared to that, these are very, very. So I mean, I don't want to again sound cynical, but if it is cash for vote, at least people are voting, because these numbers show that, you know, the voting is happening in huge numbers, and we are still seeing long queues. So again, it's not unlikely to get over within the next 2 hours. I think the voting will continue
for some time.
Yeah, that's what. And I was just looking at umpiring Lingdo, and see, this is what I mean, that when people switch sides, it becomes so difficult, right? I mean, here's a person who was in Congress, and like on the desk, we would look at her as the only one, like whenever the Legislative Assembly would be in session in Meghalaya, it was almost impossible to not have a story about umpiring Lingdo, because she was pretty much the only, I mean, to use the term, she was the leader with a spine. And she would constantly be posing extremely tough questions to, she was there during the vendor protests, she was there when a lot of people were denied benefits during the COVID time. She fought for all that, and then now she is saying that NPP will get a greater mandate, which also means that by that, if I go by that idea, then somewhere I also have to take in the fact that this means that prior to 2021, November 2021, when they switched sides, all the allegations that she was making, she was not sincere about them.
Well,
because this is what I mean. The person who voted for her last time not only voted for her, but also, you know, voted for Congress. Maybe I am wrong, because if she comes to power, regardless, it's very clear that people don't care about which party she is in, as long as she is contesting. There's also that. But she fought on a Congress ticket. She was a Congress leader. She didn't join TMC, and then she joined the party that she continued to criticize throughout, which made her the leader that she is. And now, of course, there is no coincidence that, you know, she also has a sister who is also contesting. So, and again on an NPP ticket. So,
but then she, when she was in with Congress, and soon after they joined the alliance, when they were in Congress, she was suspended from the party.
She was given a show cause notice, but technically she was not suspended. She was put on notice, and, like, you know, but the thing is, even when they were suspended, they were never dismissed from the party. And that continued for a year. Why? This is what I mean, that the Congress has lost the plot. Why were they holding on from dismissing these people? Because of that vain, the absolute vain figure of showing that you still had 5 MLAs in Congress. But your MLAs were joining MDA, which was with BJP. Mainland people will probably still be stunned when they realize that sitting Congress MLAs were part of an alliance where BJP was also part of. And now she is no longer there, it doesn't make any difference, because I don't think she will lose. That's what I'm saying. That, and the fact that I think she will not lose is also a testament to it doesn't matter which party you are in, because in Northeast the person matters more than the ideology or the party, or the, you know, the higher whatever convinces you to join a party. I think we have covered elections long enough in Northeast now to know that nobody joins a party because they believe in their core. Because we also have seen that what has happened to old timer BJP leaders, right?
Exactly.
Remember Chingtam Singh from last year in BJP, the one that you interviewed and it went viral, right? Because he was thrown out of the party and he was contesting for the BJP in 90s.
Yes.
When the party had absolutely no stake in Manipur, but he was fighting a lone battle, and when the party gained popularity in the state, he was kicked out, like, you know, yesterday's meal or something like that.
So it's like completely in contrast with what Meadow was talking about in what happens in Nagaland, where people look at the party rather than the candidate, whereas in Meghalaya they opt for the candidate rather than the party or the ideology, because they probably have more trust in the candidate. And for example, Emperor Lingdo, she has been one of the most vocal and most visible leaders.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. her vocal, look at how vocal she's been after she's become, how little vocal she's been after she's become part of NPP. We don't hear her scathing reviews, or we don't hear her going ballistic on governance anymore, and that is what made her stand out from other leaders, right? Where everybody else was paying lip service, she was the one who would constantly ask questions. She was the only one who would corner the power, those in power. And now, after she's joined Congress, after she's moved to whatever that beach period in between, and then the limbo where she was Congress but she was suspended, now she's fully NPP. But have you heard her speak in anything of substance after she's come to NPP? Because she cannot. Now she is with the government, so she has to curtail her tendencies, or she has to make sure that she doesn't say things that she used to say, because now it's not going to be in her favor, right? But she's, I mean, I don't want to sound insensitive, but she's been tamed after she joined the NPP. But when she was in Congress, she was the most. Now, for example, you've been to that state so many times and you cover every day we are doing something on Meghalaya. Think of one person like Vincent Pala and think of somebody like Amparin Lingdo. The presence and the strength that Amparin Lingdo showed in Congress versus whatever Vincent Pala has shown. So, her loss, she was a big loss for Congress. But again, I blame the higher ups in the Congress party who cannot see who are missing the woods for the trees, whatever the phrase is.
Okay, Amit, I'll have to interrupt you there for a second. So, we have district-wise data coming in from Nagaland. I'll have to correct myself here, where I mentioned it was around 72.99%, but the actual figures are here now. It has been updated to 73.22% voter turnout till 3 p.m. Of them, some of the districts have already crossed the 80% mark.
Mon is at 85.82%.
82%, and Simenyu is at 83.94%. Wokha is at 81.60%. So, I'll just read out the voter turnout in all the districts. Chumukdima saw voter turnout of 69.04%. Dimapur was at 67.64% at 3 p.m. Kipiri was at 69.20%. Kohima saw a voter turnout of 71.94%. Longleng was at 66.05%. Mokokchung was at 66.48%. Mon 85.82%. Noklak 79.28%. Peren 70.15%. Pek 68.30%. Pugoboto 78.27%, Shamator 75%, Simenyu 83.94%, Twensang 74.67%, Wokha 81.60% and Zuneboto 73.79%. In fact, most of the districts have crossed the 70% mark, while 3 districts have already crossed the 80% mark. Mon is at 85.82%.
The lowest is impressive. The lowest is at 66.48%. Mokokchung or Longleng? Or 66.05%. Yeah, Longleng. And that's not bad at all. I mean, there's every chance that Mon might wrap up. Mon might wrap up elections by 4 o'clock. The rate at which it is going, it's 86%.
I think they probably already have.
Mon is in danger of scoring like metric marks or something like 90%, like plus. Qualify for DU by this rate. No, but this is what I'm saying. So, whatever the jokes, I mean, not jokes, but like the reality is for cash for votes and stuff like that. But then if it is translating into voting, at least you cannot deny that it's translating into votes. For whom and for what, to what end is another matter. But I'm impressed. This is seriously. So, as of now, say something like Semenyu has 83, almost 84%. So, it will definitely be 90.
Yes, I am quite optimistic about it.
And we would just like to remind our viewers, these are district wise, these are not constituency wise, these are district wise. So, 16 districts combined for 60 seats. So, these are not constituency wise, I repeat, this is only for district wise.
Okay. So, more or less polling has been peaceful, but there has been an incident at Bhandari district where a clash between allegedly between NPP and NPF party workers broke out earlier today. The clash reportedly occurred in Akuk village, around 60 kilometers from Wokha town, where NPF supporters reportedly attacked NPP supporters. It was also reported that army personnel fired blank rounds to prevent the situation from escalating, where around 4 people were injured. However, the NPF has refuted the reports and said that they have not confirmed anything. Police meanwhile informed that BSF fired blank shots in which 4 people were injured, and it is they have also ascertained it as a case of conflict. So, that was one incident that took place in Bhandari constituency in Wokha. Apart from it, elections have been peaceful in most part of the states. In Nagaland as well as in Meghalaya, we haven't received anything of concern as of yet. However, there was one incident where proxy voting was reported, and that has also been taken care of by the Election Commission of India. Amit, we were talking about Nagaland and the development issues in Nagaland. So, I mean, if we talk about specifically the frontier Nagaland demand, so the problems came to the fore only after the demand was made. Before that, nobody knew about frontier Nagaland or the areas that existed in frontier Nagaland.
So, that is also the thing. The demand was almost first and foremost to be more visible. See, if there is a protest that happens for say better roads or better facilities at a district level, it is unlikely to cross that district in terms of making news, for example. And we have already seen the size of a district like Mon. Something that happens in Mon may not even make outside Mon, for example, right. So, when you look at it from that angle, you realize that these districts, the demand, as I said, first and foremost is just to be visible, that we too exist, that Kohima and Dimapur is not Nagaland. There are other parts which are far from it. Along is from Longlang, right. So, he often tells you about how some tribes or some clans see themselves far more similar to their Myanmari brethren than they say Anangami, for example. So, there is also recently we had done a story, our contributor had done a story about how there was a fire on the Myanmar side of the border, and 70 homes were gutted, and Nagas from this side of the border, they went and saved them. So, they crossed the border with the Indian side version of the Red Cross, went that side to help them, so that they can take care of the basics and all. So, there is that, and that I think is testament to the fact that the region is so backward that for them it does not matter whether in the larger scheme of things Dimapur and Kohima are also not very developed. For them that does not matter, because when they see these two regions or the other parts of Nagaland, they realize that they are not even that developed. So, you can't say like, oh, wow, what is this demand? Recently somebody, and that person was not from here, they said, why are they asking for more development? It is not like other parts of Nagaland are developed. Now, that for that person who was from Delhi, that makes sense, because they look at right now, you have seen how journalists are sweating because there is not enough 4G connections.
Exactly.
Right.
In fact, we are having trouble in getting the data.
Exactly. So, the thing is, now people are, but the thing is, this is not today's problem. This is how we always know that in Northeast, when you are working in certain regions, this is how it is. But for somebody living in Guwahati, they might think that for somebody living in Delhi, they might even think Guwahati is not developed enough. But you can't use that language and tell that to somebody in Haflong, right? That since Guwahati is also not developed, whatever development you have, be happy with it. That is not how it works, right? Kohima, when you look at a place like Kohima or Dimapur, and also I think more than development, it was not, as you said, as I said, visibility, but it was also that in the larger decision making process, they thought they were not being made part of. So, you see a lot of leadership from this Dimapur Kohima belt, as opposed to like seeing so many people from Mon or even Shamatoran also. These regions, they did not have so much of a voice in decision making. They were not really playing a big role in policy making. So, and as a result of all this, they were also in the last when it came to the queue of getting benefits, which is why even today, as you said, the whole district does not have a blacktop road. Now we are not, that's not asking for the moon, is it? They are not asking for optical fiber connection so that they can watch Hotstar.
And the fight is still for the basic requirements.
Yeah, I mean it's
like roti, kapda, or makan.
But that's what I'm saying. And that's the thing, see, roti, kapda or makan, because indigenous societies have been so strongly sustainable, you have roti, but it's not, you have kapda and you have a makan. You don't see people sleeping on the streets, for example, which is a very common sight in, say, Delhi or Bombay or in big cities of UP or in capital cities of Bihar and all. You don't see that.
Exactly. That is not a sight that we will see in northeastern
exactly.
states.
So you don't, what we understand by abject poverty is not visible. But that means that just because that is not there, what it also hides is that nobody rises beyond what they are there. So you will not be having starvation deaths in Nagaland, sure. But that doesn't mean that everybody is living comfortably, right? So you don't even have to give them roti, kapda or makan. They are taking care quite a bit of that by themselves.
They are self-sustainable in that.
That's what I'm saying. So all they are asking for is like, I mean at this point, is it even demand? It should be a right to have roads to your villages.
That is what governments are supposed to do. We pay you taxes, give us roads. We pay you taxes, give us schools.
And hospitals. These are none of the. See, I may not agree with the, on a personal level, I may not agree with the timing of Frontier Nagaland, because I think it was a little conveniently timed. But the demands are absolutely not unfair. This is not asking for something that is, the government has, like say for example farm laws. The farmers were asking for a law to be taken back. And sure they won, but they had to, there was a lot involved in that process. This is not anything like that, right? They are just asking for a, see, they know that when they ask for a state, you always ask for a lot more, right? Because when you ask for little, nobody pays attention. If these people, for example, had said we want a separate country, we want Frontier Nagaland to be a separate country, they would have been labelled separatists, and Pakistan funded, China funded, Athawale sentences would begin to make sense. So what they have done is they said we wanted a state. Now state demand is not seditious, it's not anti-national. But whether they get the state or not is another matter. But what they have done is they have got people like you and me who are very far from eastern Nagaland, and people in Delhi
they
did not
got
even
us
know.
Talking about
exactly, they got us talking about it, and that is again as we are in terms of Google searches, for example.
So here I would like to mention that EastMojo looked up the data for the search and search trend for the term Frontier Nagaland on the Google Trends website. Here is what we found. The first major peak in trends that we see is in September of 2018, but even bigger spikes in spikes can be seen in April and May of 2019 and January of 2021. The search trend is rather scattered before 2020, but has become more prominent from February 2020 and remained relevant throughout 2020, 21 and 2022. So this is what Google has to say about Frontier Nagaland. In fact, we also did a documentary on the Frontier Nagaland issue around a month ago. The documentary is a ground report of what is the situation like and how one problem leads to another. Now, the documentary was released towards the end of January. That was the time when the ENPO was still standing firm with the resolution of abstaining from the elections. However, the situation changed a few days ago. We'll discuss it once we get back. Please take a look at the documentary titled Frontier Nagaland, When Enough is Enough, exclusively by EastMojo.
Enough is enough. For the matter, our movement is from the grassroots level.
People are not getting 2 square meals also in some of the remote places.
Doctor Iman Nathakar Rati Devi, night to Devi Tagibo, Aro, night to Devi Koregana, Aro, Tin Devi, Aro, OPD Tagibo.
Bishimanu deliver timing to Gurubana Pargina live Jan Jabi Ase.
Dr. T. Hongpe Konyak, had just finished the night shift at the Community Health Center in Aboy Town, in Mon District of Eastern Nagaland. He had to rush back again for the morning shift since there were no doctors available. It is a busy day at the hospital and all the staff are in a race against time. Fortunately, there are no critical cases today, and Dr. Hongpei, with the help of 3 nurses, will somehow be able to manage without any trouble. Even if the day ends well, Dr. Hongpei will not be able to relax since his colleagues will be out of town for 2 more days. The hospital only has 3 doctors. Dr. Hongpei is an Ayurvedic doctor, while the 2 others, a dentist and an MBBS doctor. The hospital is in dire need of a gynecologist, a general practitioner, and a surgeon. In their absence, it becomes difficult for doctors to treat patients.
Income patient to PCI will be a man, Gonba patient to South in every high, Miss Gilolo, Opina Takarana, will be a man, Kitavi, a man go south in other reply to Niti, Kilo letter, we understand the patient, na Kina took by in Hakorina, Tahange, in the condition as a winner, Kotara in Haguide, Nula Amala Yate facilities night to write in the Rainachaviguina, Monte, refer Grina, in Haguide.
Lucky for him, he has the support of head nurse Anung Lalongchar, who has been serving at the hospital for over 25 years and often helps the doctors with gynecology-related cases. She has even helped deliver babies at the healthcare center.
Inauna mukambi do learn gurna si aro iniga ekta patient do aishu lekine hobi do kitab ti likhiga na pura do amigan do yata hai inauna position sabo deliver case chuti aishu le position sabo position do thik asina na do amigan ini para tak to chani ase preach asiole amigan no sadam di matha to thik position din dakele do question mark ta ase ito para patient ge abuni do So, ini ठीक ठाक ऐसे पचा लगा fetal heart sound भी भाले ऐसे होली भी अब नहीं लगा तो all problem. Before कुन्नु बदो ini एक बार भी ANC मानी चेकअप नुकरेगा ना direct delivery है. इधो हम भी इधो preach मानी all dabra पचा तो थाकी शिवले पच्चा नहीं शिवले इधो देम दे पुथाई दे आमिगन refer करे मोन्थिस hospital दे.
The CHC receives over 100 pregnancy cases every year. It is also the only healthcare center for 24 villages with only 1 doctor for over 8,000 patients. Along with adequate manpower, the CHC also requires equipment to conduct tests and pay regular salaries to the healthcare workers. Like healthcare, education in Aboy Town is also dependent on the government higher secondary school, the only educational institution for students above primary level. However, the school too faces infrastructure challenges and an inadequate number of teachers among several others. There are only 21 teachers for over 1,000 students.
So they went to that lonely spot. America, they had no sleeps. So this leads to
have to tell you everything, it will take the whole day, like I said earlier. But to just cut it down short, we have the first thing, our infrastructure problem. If you see around, our building is there, but it can't be used. Only 2-3 rooms are usable classrooms. The others, we have just left it like that because it's going to break down. We are scared when it rains, water comes in, when it's windy, all the classes break, so it's scary. So we can't take classes inside here. We are just using one room for now. The other, if we look around, we have 2 almost makeshift bamboo classrooms. This building that you see behind me is for class 12. It was made in 2021 by the community itself because we had too many students and we can't accommodate them here. And this year we made another 2 classrooms that was made by the community again. And so 11, we have just put them there. That's why we don't have proper classroom also, just makeshift help from the community. That is how we are continuing.
Walking long distances is a regular affair for the students here, since most of them come from far-flung areas. However, most students drop out after high school due to the lack of higher education facilities and poverty. A similar state of affairs also prevails in Tuensang, about 160 kilometers from Mon. Here too, the district hospital lacks a gynecologist, surgeon, and specialized doctors. According to the Chang Kulay Setchang, the apex tribal body of the Chang Naga community, the requisite number of appointed doctors and nurses does exist on paper, but in reality, the story is different.
Civil hospital Tuensang. I'm itia recently gynecologist itia amigan Tuensang civil hospital dinai. Aro itu nathaka bra delivery cases kando mok chungde pathai kohimati pathai. Aro bishi manu deliver timing di gurubo na parigina live jan jabi ase. Aro itu this year be iniga happen again ase. Itu nishina aro shortage of specialized doctor even in the district civil hospital.
Lack of healthcare, education, infrastructural development, employment opportunities, as well as inflation are only some of the problems that the people of the 6th district of Eastern Nagaland face. And at the root of all these problems is one thing, that is roads. The pathetic condition of the roads within, to and from the districts and with other states is the biggest blockade to the development in this region and the prime cause for the demand of a separate state, Frontier Nagaland.
Eastern Nagaland consists of 6 districts: Tuensang, Mon, Longlang, Kifiri, Noklak, and Shamator, and collectively form over 28% of the state population, but contribute only 1/3 or 20 of the 60 MLAs in the assembly. Being a hilly region with little or no rail connectivity, the prosperity and economic development of Nagaland lies on the strength of its roads. However, the deplorable condition of roads is a major concern for people in the state, especially those living in the easternmost part. The roads are dotted with massive craters, resulting in heaps of dust during the dry winter season or thick layers of muddy sludge with every downpour during the monsoon.
আমি খান লাগা ইনফ্লেশন কমিউনিকেশন ভাল নাই তো আমি খান একটা চিজ commodities goods coming from the plains area আমি খান ইয়াতে সামান লাগা দাম বি মানুহ জাগাতে 5 টাকা 10 টাকা পাতো আমি খান 20-30 rupees এনেকা পাই আছে এটো উপরে আমি খান লাগা আমি খান ইকোনমি তো আমি খান লাগা বিজনেস কি টাইম দি হলিবি আমি খান করবলে নহলে ইয়াতে লাগা product agriculture product hobi dusra ki line bra hobi ami khan edu export kuru bolibe na pare kile ami khan laga road communication do etu nishna thaka pra still lacking ha pra ami khan outside world dibi jabole na thake na ami khan laga economy do etu nisha still lacking behind hoigena ase.
This also prompted the state government to devise a plan to promote off-roading and launch the Nagaland Off-Road app, website and a guidebook in December 2022. According to the Eastern Nagaland People's Organization, an apex body of the Eastern Naga tribes including the Chang, Kemyongan, Konyak, Pom, Sangtam, Tikir and Yimkyong, the issues date back to 1963 when Nagaland gained statehood. Back then, Nagaland only had 3 districts, Tuensang, Kohima and Mokokchung. Although special provisions under the State of Nagaland Act 1962 was provided for Tuensang, which included the present-day Mon, Longlang, and Kifere districts, the ENPO alleged that the administration's biased fund distribution kept Eastern Nagaland from seeing any kind of development, which led to the demand for a separate state.
In the Act of the Parliament, it was very clearly said that Tuensang district, which was the Tuensang Frontier Division, erstwhile, was to be given 50% of the fund which came from central government, from the Consular Fund of India. And the governor was supposed to oversee to the proper distribution of this money. But I don't think the governor did the proper duty. He did not do the obligation that the governor of Nagaland should have done. So as a consequence, most of the funds which were brought to Kohima was usurped outside Eastern Nagaland. And then the employment, then the education, literacy, still was very, very low. Until date, the Eastern Nagaland area is very backward. And in many development programs, the region is still very, very primitive.
Although the demand for a separate state was first made in 2010, the movement resurfaced in 2022, only months before the assembly polls. On August 9, 2022, the ENPO held a public rally to press for the creation of Frontier Nagaland. But their demand caught national attention on August 26, 2022, when they adopted a resolution to abstain from any central or state elections till their demands were met. Later on October 25, Eastern Nagaland Women Organization had organized a public rally at Tuensang, intensifying its demand. A major development took place on December 6, 2022, when the ENPO talk team, along with Rajya Sabha MP Pangnong Konyak met Union Home Minister Amit Shah in New Delhi to discuss the demand for a separate state.
Government of India, I'm sure, has gauged the gravity of the situation, and I think sooner or later, I hope there will be some positive action from the central government. And being from this remote area, people are able to give better, that to bring to the mainstream, and that is very important for the government of India also. And we feel that we should be looked after because we have already decided to come within the Indian Union. And why should you think about something else?
Following ENPO's meeting with Amit Shah, a 3-member committee of the Ministry of Home Affairs, headed by advisor A.K. Mishra, was constituted to study the Frontier Nagaland demand. The team visited the state for a 3-day meeting on December 16, 2022. On January 3, 2023, the state government made an appeal to the ENPO to reconsider its demand. Recently, when Nagaland Chief Minister Nipurio was asked about the discussions between the ENPO and the state government, he decided to only stick with the word positive.
Your government has asked the ENPO to reconsider their decision. So what has been the decision so far, the response?
No, so the discussion is going on, but they're quite positive.
Positive to reconsider the decision?
Positive means any outcome should be positive.
So that was the documentary by Team EastMojo exclusively on the Frontier Nagaland demand. So coming back to the ENPO, or the Eastern Nagaland People's Organization, the organization had pressed a resolution in August last year to abstain from participating in the assembly polls unless the demand for the formation of a separate state comprising the 6 Eastern Nagaland districts of Kifiri, Longlang, Mon, Noklak, Shamator and Tuensang is met. However, earlier this month, they withdrew the poll boycott call following a series of meetings with Union Minister of Home Affairs delegation. According to ENPO office bearers, the decision was taken based on an assurance that a solution as mutually agreed will be reached after following the due process and will be implemented after completing the election process. We are being joined by our Nagaland correspondent Medolina Ambrosia. Medo, if you can hear me. So you were also there extensively covering the Eastern Nagaland region while we were there in Eastern Nagaland, and we did a lot of stories from around there. So I think Amit has a question here.
Meadows, I just wanted to know, like ever since the demand for Frontier Nagaland has emerged, first it was walkathons and all in the eastern region, and then it slowly spread across. The demand became so popular that it hit national headlines also. What has been the response amongst other communities or other regions towards this demand? Have other regions embraced the demand, or do you think that the other regions are seeing this as a, to use the term, further division of Naga unity?
Well, so far on an administrative level, no organization or no people from the other part of Nagaland that's not on from the eastern region of Nagaland has come to oppose it. So there's been no opposition. In fact, people we've talked to, intellectuals, student body organizations like the NSF, or also party leaders, they have all expressed their solidarity that the demand for a separate state made by the ENPO is actually genuine, and this solidarity was being echoed. But like I mentioned, there's been no opposition to this so far.
So, what I want to understand is, when ENPO says that compared to the rest of Nagaland, Eastern Nagaland is much more deprived, much less developed. Surely it's not like the other parts of Nagaland are very developed either, right? So, for example, right. How is the response towards that? Like, do people see, say for example, do people living in Kohima, Dimapur, even Peren and all, do they see that they have received more of the funding from state government as opposed to Eastern Nagaland? How do people in the other regions see their own situation?
There are people here in Kohima or in Dimapur, in other places. I think one thing everybody is talking about is development, especially in terms of roads. If we see the road connectivity in Dimapur, we see the roads are also as pathetic as it is in some parts of Eastern Nagaland. Kohima had really bad roads in the past. Of course, there's been changes over the past few years, in the past 1 or 2 years, where road has improved here in Kohima, but there are still pockets and areas where, even urban areas or semi-urban areas, I would say, like Kohima, Dimapur, have no access, have no good roads. But if we narrow it down to Eastern Nagaland, Kalyan mentioned we traveled to the eastern areas, and we have seen it for ourselves that roads, although pathetic, are in fact are very, very pathetic. And not just roads, they talk about education, they talk about health infrastructure. And I think one reason is because funds, like they allege that it's mostly concentrated in Kohima and Dimapur. And we have to agree that there are the directorates, the major offices here in Kohima and Dimapur, which is why we see that there is some kind of development taking place. But it is usually the structures and that are coming up. But the real developments, there's the National Highway, the National Highway 2, which connects with Manipur. I'm getting a little, I think, mixing things up here. But people here also have the notion that even parts like semi-urban areas like Kohima, Dimapur itself are being deprived of basic facilities like good roads.
So in this regard, what I also want to understand is that the whole, the demand for, not the demand, but the, attempts at Naga peace process. Has anybody expressed this on the lines that, the further division of the Nagaland, the state of Nagaland? We already have when we talk about Naga peace process, we talk about Nagaland so much that we almost forget that there's so many Nagas living in Manipur also, right? So no Naga peace process is possible without taking them into consideration also. So
with regard to the peace process, I think this is one reason why the state government has made an appeal to the Eastern Nagaland People's Organization to also reconsider their decision ahead of them. They had earlier decided to boycott the polls in demand, till their demands were met. So I think the government made a very clear stand that because there is still the issue of the spending Naga political issue, which is why it was important for at this point of time for the Nagas to be united, to stay as one. I think this must have echoed then. At that time, when the talks were going on that the ENPO would boycott the polls, I think there were a lot of meetings, even among themselves, coming down to the Konyak Union. I think there were meetings with the NNPGs. They had separate meetings with the NSC and IM, to understand. What we learned was that the Konyak Union had tried to tell them that the demand for Eastern Nagaland will not affect the Naga political issue. But things later on, I think this did not take center stage. People had concerns. Some people, if we see on social media, there are people expressing their concerns that this could, in a way, divide the Nagas and even delay or derail the Naga peace talks. But I think nobody has been very vocal about it, and the ENPO, they have also come to an understanding with the central government just ahead of the polls. Their internal talks, the kind of agreements that they met, however, is still not known to us.
So, what is hard to fathom here is that till a certain point of time, when the ENPO was so, they were holding ground on the demand, but all of a sudden, only after a couple of meetings, they agreed to participate in the elections. They agreed to everything the central government had to say. This is
so, Meadow, I just wanted to know, just continuing with what Kalyan said, it seems like they were at one point, as you had been reporting, they were very sure of, they started talking about boycotting elections back in September itself, right? When elections were still 6-7 months away. But it seems like, or at least it comes across as it took very little for them to be convinced that they should have elections, because they agreed to the demand also rather easily. Do you think that was also because their own support base told them that it would be disastrous to boycott elections, when elections are pretty much the only time when you can ask for something, or you can ask for better governance? I don't think it took I just want to know from you, do you think had they continued with that boycott of elections, do you think it would have been a very disastrous step for Frontier Nagaland?
It's hard to comment on there, but I think ahead of the polls, it was becoming very clear, especially after the visit of the election commission here in the state, that no matter what the decision of any civil society is, the election process, as it is in the Indian Constitution, is mandated and is bound to happen. Now, I think around this time, political leaders also, we are starting to express themselves, saying that no matter what, we are going to the polls, and if we are going to the polls and the ENPO is not going, it is going to be their loss. And I think this echoed, and negotiations took place. The committee that was set up to study the Eastern Nagaland issue, they also had a meeting with the ENPO. The union home minister did met. Then several developments took place ahead of this polls. I think there was a realization that if ENPO areas did not go to polls, then they would have to be behind the others. Other areas that goes to poll.
Exactly. See, one thing I think we need to understand here is that elections would have happened anyway.
Yeah,
the polling process would have taken place anyway, whether there is a demand for Frontier Nagaland or not.
Yeah.
But then again, we may not have seen as much voter turnout or participation.
Exactly. Like say for example, right now, in fact, as Meadow was saying, Meadow, just reflecting to the numbers, I think not only did they decide not to boycott the elections, but I think this is as much as a referendum on the demand for Frontier Nagaland as it is on anything else, because district like Mon, as of 3 p.m, the data that we had provided from the media cell of CEO, it's at 85.82%.
Right.
So not only are they voting, but they are voting the most. So for example, Mon has reported almost 86% voting at 3 p.m. So do you think this is as much as a referendum for Frontier Nagaland as it is for any other candidate?
If you look at the Eastern Nagaland districts, Shamator is at 75.00%. Longlang is not much, 66. Then
Mon, as we said, is 86%.
Twinsang is at 74.67%. Kipiri
close to 70.
Close to 70%.
So just getting back to that, Meadow, do you think this is as much as a referendum on the demand? Like, do you think that by putting in such high numbers, at least in quite a few districts, and nowhere is the number bad, so not only are people not rejected elections, but they have also accepted it wholeheartedly. But do you think this is because this is a reflection that they are absolutely hell-bent on their demand for Frontier Nagaland?
If ENPO had continued with its stand to boycott elections, I feel that maybe it would have been a totally different scenario now, because the tribal bodies, as we see in that region, in the Eastern Nagaland region, is very strong. They hold a lot of importance for the people there. If we are to visit Oting again, see, we've traveled there and we've interacted with people. Now, they have a say. Whatever the ENPO decides, we stand by it. I think this thing is there at the grassroots level. So decisions that are taken at the ENPO level, from those at the grassroots, they abide. They very sincerely follow. And now coming to this political, this electoral process here, we're seeing a lot of turnouts from Mokokchung and, like you mentioned, some parts of eastern Nagaland ahead of the polls. The ENSF and several other civil society organizations from the region also made appeals to the people to vote, to participate in the elections. Now, this is after they decided to call off the boycott. So they've made appeals to people to participate in a clean and fair manner. So maybe this is why the region is also attracting a lot of voters.
Okay. So not just people are participating in elections, but they are also participating very actively. So before we move ahead, I would like to quickly update our viewers on the voter turnout trend. So we have figures till 3 p.m. Where Meghalaya has seen a voter turnout of 63.57%, whereas in Nagaland it's at 73.22%. In fact, some of the districts in the state, for example, Mon saw a voter turnout of 85.82%. Wokha saw a voter turnout of 81.60%. Then Siminyu, one of the newest districts in the state, saw a voter turnout of 83.94%. And there are other districts as well that have seen more than 70% voter turnout, and the process is still underway and will continue till as per official records, it will continue till 4 p.m. Amit, if you have anything more to ask.
Just one thing to Meadow, a lot of these districts like Shamator, for example, is a relatively new district, right?
Right.
So after becoming a new district, did it see any development? What have we heard about that?
Some of these newer districts, they are yet to get a district headquarters itself,
exactly.
like offices of DCs, which have been established, but a lot of things are still transitioning from as they get upgraded. So I am sure people from these areas have huge expectations from elected representatives that they are casting their votes today.
So because that was something that was a recurring complaint also, right? Like Shamator and Newland, Seminyu, these are new districts, but they didn't really see any development that one would expect with the formation of a new district, right?
Yes, which is why I think there are a number of candidates also contesting in this.
Such large number of voter turnout, because there are several districts that have been newly formed, and maybe people are hopeful that if they choose the right leader, they will see development in the days to come. In fact, that is what elections are all about, so choosing the right person for the right cause.
Or the wrong person for the right cause. Or the wrong person for the wrong cause. I don't know. I mean,
we will discuss more on Nagaland, but it is time we shift our focus to Meghalaya. Like Nagaland, Meghalaya too has been marred by unemployment, problems related to education and underdevelopment. Now, whenever we talk about Meghalaya, we are often presented with picturesque and scenic visuals or pictures from mostly around East Khase Hills, to be more specific, Shillong or Sora. However, places like Garo Hills, the home to the Sangmas or Jaintia Hills, seldom find any mention. We at EastMojo have been delivering stories from all corners of the Northeast, even places where most media organizations fail to reach. So for our viewers who have not subscribed to EastMojo yet, please do like, share and subscribe to EastMojo on all social media platforms. Moving on, I would like to come to you on this, Amit. We have covered so much from the states. Sadly, most of them were protests, be it regarding indigenous rights, jobs, salaries, education and so on. How significant a factor all these issues would be in this year's election? What do you think?
See, unlike, I don't know, see the thing is Meghalaya always has, apart from Assam, I won't be exaggerating if I say that Meghalaya has the most amount of interest from the rest of the country. Assam, because Assam is also, we forget how big Assam is, right, for example. So, that is, a bit of it is obvious, but Meghalaya has always been, maybe because of the tourism, but Meghalaya has always been like the most popular northeast state, for example. However, we also saw that last year, I mean, as I have said many times, thank you to the government for giving us so much news and for me to write so many decoded episodes. because that's the reality that we are facing. Nagaland, I mean Meghalaya has been, I think at the same time, let me say at the outset that the state did not have a great beginning to 2000 to their term, because 2018 they came to power, and 2019 and by the end of
CA protests,
CA protests and all,
COVID.
which CA protests which continued into COVID, which meant there was hardly any tourism, after which towards the end of 2022 when tourism began, there were so many, remember Meghalaya tourism apps and carrying your certificates and stuff like that. So in general, what I think more than anything what that did is it took out a lot of casual visitors, because earlier it was very common, GS Road, you'll go on GS Road and go eat lunch and come back. So even that is a big source of income. So Nongpo restaurants and all suffered so much because you did not have so many regular people going. And then 2021, of course, during the second wave, it was, I mean, we apocalyptic situation across the country. So we were not in a good position then also. So 2021 we limped back to some sense of, you know, normalcy returning. 2022 was, I think, all of that combined, and there is no other way of putting it, an inefficient government, at least in terms of communicating, in terms of ensure the Meghalaya government. I will say one thing, what Himanta Biswa does, for example, is even when his government is in a tight spot, he communicates very effectively to give a lot of people hope. And he, whenever he talks to people, have hope, people have expectations from Himanta Biswa, but they also trust him. So if he, for example, today says that there should not be a violence over something, it is not uncommon that people will listen to him. In Meghalaya, I think Conrad Sangma is never, and of course, it's not fair to compare Conrad, first term CM with somebody like Himanta who's been in power. Let us not forget.
He's never been in the opposition.
Yeah, he's never, very conveniently, if I may say so. But he was a senior leader in the Congress government also, which he doesn't want to talk about, but we will never forget reminding him this. But he's been in power, so he's understood this and he used this to advantage. Conrad Sangma did not manage to do that. He failed at that, and that is where I think he also realized that Congress was not in the best shape, but he didn't realize that Congress's downfall would mean TMC's rise. And I think it is very fair to say that TMC's, when TMC came and the night of long knives, to use a World War II example, but when it came and took up all the Congress leaders, I think it stumped Conrad Sangma also. And sure, he can try saying that this or that, but it is not. Let's be honest, it's not TMC that is flaring up protests. It's not TMC that made teachers protest on the streets, or apparently some teachers taking to the violent route, or it was not TMC which was the reason why HNLC ex-HNLC leader Chesterfield, thank you, was shot at home, for example. So it was not TMC which made Bernard Marak the so-called villain and some alleged child trafficker and prostitution mastermind that a lot of NPP people wanted us to believe. So these are not TMC's mistakes. TMC is not responsible for the lack of roads or the lack of schools not having. I mean, just look at it. You have a situation, unlike say a Mizoram, Meghalaya's literacy rate is not in the same ballpark. It's much lower. Literally, it's in the 70s. Then you have a situation where thousands of schools are being supported by ad hoc teachers, and all of them lose their jobs, and you have no system of replacing them. What happens as a result is you are in a position where you are having schools without teachers. And we have done stories in Garo Hills where you have like anything between 100 to 300 schools where there's odd teacher teaching 3 classes. There are schools without adequate infrastructure. So this is not TMC's fault. As much as the NPP would like to believe, blame. See, that is where NPP has TMC has an advantage. It is not an old opposition. If all the blame that Conrad Sangma could have put on Congress became ineffective the moment Congress leaders left Congress. Because now Mukul Sangma is more than happy to blame Congress, because he is no longer attached to Congress, he is attached to TMC. So that I think also blunted Conrad Sangma's response. If these people had tried to come back or rejuvenate under Congress, his answers would have been ready. Because that's what, like in Assam for example, why would anybody in the right mind vote for Congress now? That's the argument that BJP gives, right? Because you have a past. TMC does not have a past. Consequently, Mukul Sangma, the 2023 Mukul Sangma does not have a past. He was a Congress leader, but now he is a TMC leader, and that is where I think it's become a little difficult for Conrad Sangma.
Okay. So we have prepared a special segment for our live session. So now let's take a look at some of the constituencies in Meghalaya where the contest is going to be quite interesting. We are calling it the Clash of Meghalaya Clans. First up is 5 Sunga Saipung Assembly constituency, where one of the 36 women candidates are in the fray this time, which is 32 more than what we saw in 2018 and 24 more than 2013. Now, before we move ahead, let me remind our viewers that Meghalaya Congress has fielded 10 women candidates, while the BJP and NPP has fielded 6 female candidates each. The TMC has fielded 5 women candidates, 2 each from the KAM Meghalaya, Republican Party of India and Voice of the People Party and HSPDP, and 1 each from HSPDP, UDP and the JDU. So, moving on to 5 Sunga Saipung Assembly, we have one of the 36 women candidates. We have Shanta Marishila representing the NPP. She will be contesting against Shitlang Pale, who had won from the constituency in 2018, 2008 and 2003. He had lost to independent candidate Hopeful Bamon in 2013, but re-won the constituency again in 2018. Among the other candidates in the fray from 5 Sunga Saipung are Meghalaya Congress Chief Vincent Pala and BJP's Krison Langstang. Now, the interesting factor to look at here are that the incumbent MLA had contested on a Congress ticket in the past 4 elections, but this time he will be contesting, in fact he is contesting on a UDP ticket and has his former colleague Vincent Pala against him, who is a 3-time MP from Shillong Lok Sabha constituency. But given the Congress's situation in the state, he had to come back to the state political turf this time. Amit, so obviously Congress, not doing well will be an understatement in Shillong, but it forced Vincent Pala, who has been a 3-time MP, to join the MLA assembly elections this time. So, do you think like his why do you have the smoke on your face?
I have the smoke on my face because this is the best example of what has happened to Congress. I mean, 2021 you have 17 MLAs and 2023 you are putting an MP as an MLA. Let's not forget the impeccable role of Mr. Pala in watching his party disintegrate. He kept telling us that there is no problem, that after people have left, he was like, no, the other people are also going to be with us. They have not left. And umpiring leader was like, nah bro. So that's what I'm saying. I mean, sure, the party might make a comeback. Everybody can win. That's why we are contesting elections. But I'm saying this is, and I think it's somewhere also an acceptance on the behalf of Meghalaya Congress that the exodus of the leaders has left the party with not much of a choice. The number of recognizable faces are so few and far in between now that the party is putting as brave a front as it is trying to put up. The fact that they have nominated an MP, I mean, Meghalaya, if I am not wrong, has what, 2 MPs?
Yes.
So it has 2 MPs. So one of them is contesting, like as an MLA. So I mean, and so I think 2 MPs. One is Agatha Sangma, and then other one is Mr. Vincent Pala. So with 2 MPs, if your MP is being forced to contest elections, it's not because he thinks he can become CM. And Vincent Pala, and let's not forget one more thing. It's not even after all this, there were several people who remained in Congress, especially at the booth level, the youth Congress and all, and they have written so many letters. We have done so many stories about them writing to the higher authorities to look into what is happening into their party. But again, a certain leader who has become very famous right now, or he's always been famous and for his walking around the country, they are not paying attention. So I think it was a bit rich from Rahul Gandhi of all people to say that TMC is the B team of BJP, because I don't know if he knows of this place called the Northeast where he had come. If we are truly looking at a B party of the BJP, his party should get like a Hall of Fame entry, because the number of leaders, I mean, he has provided 5 CMs to the BJP in Northeast alone, and there are only 8 states including Sikkim. So if you are talking about being the B team, then, and I think it also somewhere comes and shows that, see, the national leadership of Congress is so clueless about what is happening in its, you know, in states over here. You land for a day, you call TMC the B team of BJP and you leave, which shows how little you know about your state, because unlike you, who's visited for an evening, Mamata Banerjee has been far more visible in this state. She's conducted, and she had like packed, like
she's done, I think, what, 3 rally, like she's visited 3 times. I
yeah, and had did again, people who are not very who do not follow elections regularly in Meghalaya, they may not know this, but places like Mendi Pathar and all in Garo Hills, you turn up with 50,000 people. It's uncommon. It's you know, you have these regions have not seen such crowd, like 10,000, 12,000 is a big crowd. You're talking about 30, 40, 50,000 people turning up for rallies of TMC, and then you have the, you know, you have the almost like ignorance to call TMC the BJP as B party when your party has absolutely been driven to dust. And as I said, it's the best example is that you're one of the 2 MPs from your state, and including Vincent Pala, how many MPs do you have in the northeast? And yet you are putting one MP.
Exactly, that was my question, in fact. So even if Vincent Pala manages to win, so that will leave 1 seat empty. So there has to be an election, and the Congress will lose another leader in the centre.
And who do you think will become an MP if there is a which party is going to emerge at the top? That's what I'm saying. So how dare you call TMC the B team of BJP? That's what I'm saying. You can use those kind of arguments in mainland, but you can't do that in the northeast. You can't come for half a day and, you know, act like you know the region, because that statement was very, very ignorant on part of Mr. Gandhi. And I think not that he had his party has a great chance, I think, and in Nagaland they have no chance. So
but
much
then
so
again,
that
they have nothing to lose. So
in Meghalaya,
apart from, yes,
I mean, they have nothing to lose. They have already lost 17 MLAs. I mean, that's like saying I got robbed, so I have nothing to lose. Yeah, you lost a house, man. So if you lose 17 MLAs, you will not be in a position to lose anything. You're already broke.
But they can lose an MP.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. If this, as I said, this shows that the party does not have what it considers as winnable candidates, right? Because if they had winnable candidates, there's no party in this country which would sacrifice a sitting MP for the sake of an MLA. It makes no sense, and that is what the BJP is doing here. So, which the Congress is doing here. So, it's a little unfortunate, but it makes our work more interesting. So, thank you, Congress.
Anyway, next up is 16 East Shillong constituency, where 7 candidates, including Ojo Nongrum from the TMC, Manuel Badwar from the Congress, Amperin Lingdo from the NPP, Romeo Fira Rani from the People's Democratic Front, Wankitbok Phonsna from the BJP, Evner Paryat from the Voice of the People's Party, Wanpehun Kharsintiu as an independent candidate. Now, there are several interesting factors in this constituency. The first thing is that Wanpehun Kharsintiu is contesting on behalf of KAM Meghalaya, a new political platform of activists and social workers, which also includes activist turned politician Angela Rangad, who comes from a very humble background. Now, Kharsintiu worked as a part-time domestic help for around 6 years, after which she took part in the National Democratic Workers Movement as a member. That is when her transformation to an activist took place, and now she is in the ring ready to wrestle big political names like Amperin Lingdo. We have also other debutants such as Manuel Badwar from the Congress and writer turned politician Evner Paryat, who is contesting on a VPP ticket. So, a lot of new names as well as interesting constituencies coming up this time. Amit, how do you see it?
See, for 1 second, if I take off my journalism hat, I would want Wanpehun Kharsintiu to win, because her story is something that is one of the most heartening stories in recent times, and I think it's also important to have such people contesting elections. The reality may be something different. I don't think she has the, I mean, I don't even want to mention the financial might, and consequently what follows
what Angela Rangad has also been saying, that they are not banking on money power because they do not have money.
Yeah, I mean, like, that's smart on them, because they can't. Let's not, you know, Amparin Lingdo is not just a multiple time MLA, she also comes from privilege. So there is no way she can. But that's what, see, this is what I mean. Like somebody like Wanpinpun Karsintiu is somebody who represents the side of Shillong that we don't see. She is representing the Shillong that is not Instagrammed. She is representing the Shillong that has to struggle for even basic facilities like drinking water. When you go to Police Bazaar, for example, you will see people standing up in line collecting water which is falling in the drain, so, and filtering that and drinking water. So both Angela Rangad and Karsintiu have repeatedly shown us Shillong that we choose to ignore. That is not Wards Lake, and that is not Shillong Peak, and that is not the restaurants or the rock capital and stuff like that. They have shown us the struggle, the pain that for mere survival. And Karsintiu's speeches have also been, see, when people come from such background, they are not into, at least in the beginning of their career, they are not somebody who will spend a lot of time trying to convince voters of things they are not going to do. Rather, their speeches are far more direct, far more, connecting to the people. But again, in the Northeast, we have seen that being, sympathy does not get you votes, unfortunately, in this country, and especially in the Northeast, because somebody voting for Karsintiu will not be voting for her because they think she will get you roads or she will get you facilities. People who will vote for her will be somebody who would want to, who would want just the system to change. For once, somebody amongst them to be one of us is a leader. That feeling, that is something that is aptly represented by Karsintiu. Amongst other leaders, I think one of the persons who I would feel a little not bad, but I think a little hard done by would be Manuel Badwar. I mean, he has to go against Amparin Lingdo, and if she had stayed in Congress, for example, he would have either been on some other seat or he would have probably been like
exactly.
But as somebody who is going to be representing, he's the one who's representing Congress, right?
Yes.
So I think, Badwar doesn't. I don't think Badwar stand. Frankly speaking, as a out and out journalist, I don't see anybody standing a chance against Amparin Lingdo, because again, if I want something done, why will I vote? Why will I not vote for Amparin? You vote for power and you vote for might, at least in our democracy. So hand on heart, if I was in a position where I was not here and voting, I would have probably voted for Karsintiu, but I don't think it is a contest.
Okay,
I'll be happy to be told otherwise, but.
Okay, so it may not have been clear why we are calling it Clash of Clans, Meghalaya clans in fact, but if you take a look at the next constituency in our list, it will be more clear. So next we have 21 Nongthamai constituency, where former Congress leader Amparin Lingdo's sister Jasmine Lingdo is contesting on an NPP ticket. Jasmine is the newest member of the Lingdo family to enter politics. I think now it's more clear to our viewers why we are calling it Clash of Meghalaya clans. Before that, her late brother R.G. Lingdo was the Home Minister, and they followed the footsteps of their father, late Peter Marbanyang, who was a member of the parliament. So Jasmine Lingdo is a clinical psychologist turned politician and will be locking horns with a former colleague of Amparin Lingdo, who is now contesting on a TMC ticket, Charles Pingrove. David Kharsati of the BJP, Baninder Shisha Khargonkar of the Congress, and Jemino Matlo of the UDP are also contesting from 21 Nongthamai constituency. So Amit, I think now our audience is more clear about why we are calling it Clash of Clans, and as we move forward, you will there are more interesting constituencies that we'll be talking about.
No, this is what I mean. How do you compete against such might? You have a family of history of family history of elections. So when and that's what I'm saying. She's a psychologist turned politician, but in Hindi they say "Naam hi kafi hai," like name shall suffice. Your name shall suffice. So in this case, that is what is happening here. It's a very good example that just because you are Amparin Lingdo's sister, red carpet, seat ready, and we can call princess, but it's not like princess will know what Jasmine Lingdo has done in the past. As I said, she's a psychologist turned politician, but she's not contesting because she's been such a good psychologist that she's now trying to, on the basis of she's not contesting based on her, past or on a profession. She is contesting because she's in the right family.
Lingdo.
And a Lingdo. So this is something that once again shows that even in Northeast the dynastic politics, or the fact कि तू जानता नहीं, don't you know, in Hindi we say तू जानता नहीं मेरा बाप कौन है, like that kind of thing actually works a lot in the Northeast also. We are seeing, I mean, we'll get back to the one after the other Sangmas that are contesting elections from the same families, but here we have a very good example, like and I'll not be surprised if she wins, although but here I genuinely believe that Charles Pingrop is the one, because as much as we have talked about Mr. Mukul Sangma, Dr. Mukul Sangma, we have not, I think we have been a little unfair to Charles Pingrop, because he's been the trusted lieutenant and he's been the one who's like Mukul Sangma. See, Meghalaya, Mukul Sangma sometimes almost are synonymous, right? Yeah. People know him not only in Meghalaya, but he's very well known in Assam also, for example, and of course in other parts of the country, national media and all. But quietly, it is Charles Pingrop who's been working, who's been strengthening the party, or he's been trying to strengthen the party. And I think, if TMC does well, I would go on to say that it is Charles Pingrop's, that quiet, understated work that he has done for the party, which combined with the charisma and the appeal of Dr. Mukul Sangma. If TMC does well, it will be both of them playing an equal role. As much as we have talked about Dr. Mukul Sangma, I think Charles Pingrop is somebody who deserves equal, if not more, praise. And all said and done, I think this will be his seat.
Okay, but at the same time, Jasmine Lingdo has also been defending. She's been asked about entering politics, and she's been saying that there's nothing wrong in it, because that's the kind of mindset they grew up with, because they have seen. I mean, these are her words, not mine. They have seen. They are brought up with a mindset of serving people. So she saw her brother doing the same, and her father as well before her entering politics, and her sister as well. Anyway, since we were already talking about Mukul Sangma, the next constituency that we have is Ampati constituency in Southwest Garo Hills district, which was Mukul Sangma's traditional bastion. He first won the seat in 1993 and kept winning it for the next 5 terms up to the last assembly poll in 2018. However, in 2018, Mukul Sangma had also contested from another constituency in the Garo Hills, that is Songsak, and later resigned his Ampati seat, putting up his daughter Miani Dishira as the candidate, where she duly won the by-poll on a Congress ticket after her father vacated it. This time, Miani Dishira is contesting on a TMC ticket. She will be contesting against once loyalist of Mukul Sangma and Garo Hills Autonomous District Council MCD from Boldamgre, Stevie Marak, who is contesting on an NPP ticket. Another opponent of Mukul Sangma and Congress candidate Uttara Ji Sangma will also be contesting from Ampati. Uttara Ji Sangma's father and sitting MLA was defeated by Mukul Sangma during the latter's maiden entry into politics. Whereas the BJP has fielded Premananda Koch. Amit, so basically, I mean, it's pretty obvious. So Mukul Sangma gave up his bastion and for his daughter. So he basically passed it on to his daughter, so
Transfer
that she can
power.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's what we are seeing in Ampati, and I think I won't be surprised if Miani Dishira comes out as a victor from Ampati.
Yeah, because again, it's quite Ampati. I found one thing very interesting though. I'm just mentioning it that BJP has nominated a coach, which is very interesting, because coach is not some community that you associate with Meghalaya. But I think what BJP is doing is, I mean, they do this very well. They know that others might flounder in their voting, but coach will vote for coach, for example. So that is
they have always been against dynasty politics. We've seen the biggest example in the centre.
Unless the person is called Jai Shah, then it is not dynasty, or Anurag Thakur, then it is not dynasty politics, or Jyotiraditya Scindia, then it is not dynasty politics, but fair enough. So yeah, and did you say dynastic politics considering Conrad Sangma was supported by the BJP? So, yeah, anyways, so yeah, let's move on. But the point is, I found this very interesting that the BJP has taken, pun intended, a left turn by nominating a coach in a region which you would not see so many, and Koch have a much smaller population in this, almost like a extension of the Assam territory, and historically a lot of them also come from the Bangladesh side. So nominating a coach is, credit to BJP, they played a different, they have taken this election in a different manner, but then this could also be because they are pretty sure they are unlikely to win. So maybe, this is also something that they are trying to do with the hope of building a stronger, because they are also trying to do something same in Dalu. They are trying to consolidate the Hindu votes in Dalu. So this could be also an extension of the same. So there I think, but as you said, it's unlikely that, if Mukul Sangma's daughter is losing, it's not good for Mukul Sangma. So there is that.
So we discussed about the daughter, and how can we not talk about the father? Up next, we have Songsak constituency, which was NPP bastion in 2008 and 2013 when Nihim Dishira won the seat on both occasions, but went to Mukul Sangma in 2018. This time too he is contesting from Songsak and will be facing competition from NPP's Nihim Dishira, who was the MLA from the constituency until Mukul Sangma came into the picture, Congress's champion R. Sangma, BJP's Thomas N. Marak, and RPI Athavle factions Sareni Marak are also contesting from Songsak. So these are the candidates contesting from Songsak constituency against Mukul Sangma. Mukul Sangma came into the picture in 2018, and before that Nihim Dishira, who is this time contesting on an NPP ticket, was the MLA from Songsak. Up next, in fact, it is just not just Songsak where Mukul Sangma is contesting from. The former Chief Minister has also signed up for Tikrikila constituency in West Garo Hills district. He will be competing against NPP's MLA Jimmy D. Sangma, Congress's Dr. Kapin Chandra Boro, BJP's Rohinath Barchung Rabha, UDP's Julius T. Sangma, and independent candidate Nur Nongrum. So Mukul Sangma basically gave up his bastion Ampati for his daughter and is contesting in two other constituencies, in one of which he had never contested before. He is not just competing but also trying to take away one of NPP's bastion, right, Amit?
Yeah, this is like, I can't use the word, but it's a giant to NPP in so many ways. They are saying that not only will I retain what is mine by giving it to my daughter, I'll win something else, and then I'll take a seat that was always yours. And see, I think I'm not very sure why people from, let me rephrase that. His doing this is basically to, how do we put it, maximize his appeal, right? This is because this is one way of ensuring that even if in case, like say for example Mamata Banerjee also contested on 2 seats, right? So if she lost one, she still managed to be the CM because she had. So this is a thing that we are seeing now. A lot of parties are hedging on a couple of seats just to be sure, because they may lose on 1 seat, but let's be honest, it's not like he's going to lose both the seats, right? And the fact that they have a so for example in say for example in this Tikrikila,
yes,
there are no leaders who are at the same might. For example, the fact that BJP is nominated again through the idea of consolidating votes, they have nominated a Rabha. So there is that, but Mukul Sangma is as I said,
Congress has nominated a Boro.
So that's, I think, as much, at least in Tikrikila, it's not really going to be much of a contest. I don't see any reason why it should be. But then see, we have done stories from Tikrikila also, and when you visit that place, when you see the stories that emerge from that place, that also shows that no matter how powerful your MLA is, it amounts to nothing unless and until they actually play a proactive role in governance. Is Mukul Sangma going to come on record and say that I wanted development, but that development was denied to me by Conrad Sangma and his party? He will not say that, because then he will have to prove that claim, and he will not be able to prove that claim, because once again, as good as a leader, as charismatic a leader as he might be, he is not, definitely not the best MLA, because if he had been an MLA for so many times in so many terms on Ampati, for example, let's look at Ampati. Ampati was his traditional bastion, right? Let's go to Ampati and we will see that it is no different from other parts of Garo Hills, right? And that's all. See, let's also be honest. Let's give them the credit of doubt, benefit of doubt. It's not like you can develop one constituency, because constituency is also split between districts, for example. So you can't just be like, oh, I will take care of only my constituency and let other constituencies go to hell. That's not going to happen. But if you in your own traditional bastion and you as a I'll keep reminding our viewers, he's a 3-time CM. All that has not been able to turn into just roads. If after so much power and you have not been able to give roads to your people, then it's definitely not governance that will bring you to power. It's your name, it's your might, and again, as we said, it's the idea that if I vote for Mukul Sangma, tomorrow I can approach him for something or one of his persons, and the chances of getting something done, whether it is something as simple as an Aadhaar card or somebody might need a quick passport, all of that will be a lot easier if I vote for Mukul Sangma and if Mukul Sangma wins. So I don't think he'll be losing either of the seats.
In fact,
or Ampati for
people
that
are also coming in our comments chat box and saying that Garo Hills will be the kingmaker, and of course Garo Hills is the battleground for the Sangmas. In fact, the next constituency in our list is also from Garo Hills. We are talking about Mahendraganj, where Mukul Sangma's wife and 2-time MLA from Mahendraganj constituency, Dikanshi Shira, is eyeing for a 3rd term in the 2023 elections. She is competing against businessman turned politician and Conrad Sangma's brother-in-law, Sanjay Sangma. Among other candidates in the fray from Mahendraganj are Saidullah Nongrum of Congress, Tinku Marak of BJP, and independent candidates Aditya Hajong and Serajul H. Khonkor. So I think the picture is getting much clearer, why we are calling it Clash of Clans. So here, officially, like the two family members of the two Sangmas are contesting against each other. We have Conrad Sangma, Mukul Sangma's wife against Conrad Sangma's brother-in-law contesting from Mahendraganj constituency. Up next, we have Rangsakona constituency, where Mukul Sangma's brother and former minister Zenith M. Sangma is competing to be re-elected for the 4th time. He won the elections in 2003, 2013 and 2018. He had lost to NCP candidate Adolf Lou Hitler R. Marak in 2008.
We didn't make that name up. We didn't make that name up.
Yes, that is the name of the candidate who was elected in 2008 and also served as a minister. We did some digging and found one of its quotes where he talked about his name. He said, and I quote, "I'm aware at one point of time Adolf Hitler was the most hated person on earth for the genocide of the Jews, but my father added Lou in between, naming me Adolf Lou Hitler, and that's why I'm different. I never had problems obtaining a visa, but I was asked many times during immigration as to why I should have such a name. I told the immigration staff I possibly didn't have a role in my naming." So that's what Mr. Adolf Lou Hitler R. Marak had to say. Meghalaya is quite popular for such names. There are I think we have done stories where this time as well, where people with interesting names are contesting as well as voting.
But nobody beats early born. So yeah,
that's a different story.
Yeah, that's a different story. That will be on the day of counting. So stay in tune. But no, I think we should. This is something that Rangsakona, and again, see, with this we are seeing that what I am noticing is the name of the candidates, for example, or the connections that they have. Every seat in Garo Hills is a political / family battle of some form or the other.
Yes.
And that begs the question, how can it be a region with such high stakes and so little development? And that's where I think it helps that I am from, to understand, because I am from Bihar, and Bihar, for example, had always had like leaders at a national level. For example, even when I was a kid, we had we had like say railway ministers and stuff like that from Bihar, even when Bihar did not have so much development. So it's a very good example, not a fair comparison, but I am saying that look at all the seats that we mentioned so far, all of them are from Garo Hills. Right?
Yes.
For now,
there's more to come in.
Yeah, exactly, and more to come in, and all of these, every seat has a family, big family connected in one way or the other. Either it is a direct, we have not even gone to the constituency of Mr. Conrad Sangma, for example, we will get there. But and then when you see, and I'll tell my readers to say Google something like Garoland, for example, and this is something that our editor-in-chief Karma Palsar had also written about, that all the 3 states have demands for separate states. Sure, Garoland is not being discussed at the same point level as Greater Tripura land or Frontier Nagaland, but the very fact that recently an MDC quit and joined the association, the group for we can share the link of the story also in a description. But the fact is that the very fact that people are demanding a Garo land in the land of the giants, in terms of political giants, shows that no matter how big your MLA is, if your governance is not on point, it doesn't amount to much. And this is a very good example again, like you have so many connected people contesting, and can we talk about something which is like big in Rangsakona, for example, and we have, despite covering the region so well, I think we can go to Dadangre.
Yes. Okay, so since we are talking about the Sangmas, how can we not mention about the other Sangma family? I am talking about Conrad Sangma, who also has his family members contesting this election. We already mentioned his brother-in-law, who is contesting from Mahendraganj constituency against Tikinchi Shira, but there are others too. First, let's talk about Conrad Sangma's brother, James Sangma. James Sangma will be contesting from his traditional bastion, the Dengri Assembly constituency, where he is seeking to be re-elected for the 4th time in a row. His opponents are Braining R. Marak of the BJP, Chesterfield Sangma of the Congress, Ruma M. Marak of TMC, and Vijjeng N. Sangma of the RPI.
I think, if I am not mistaken, this is the only seat where every member is a Sangma or a Marak.
Yes,
I think this is the only one of the, probably the only constituency where it's 2 Sangmas against 2 Maraks. I mean, of course, I am not trying to say that all of them are voting in one pattern or the other. This also shows that there is no vote bank when you have such. But Conrad Sangma's, like I would, I mean, do I have the do I have your permission to speak on James Sangma? Maybe on counting day, but for now I think no. See, James Sangma did not cover himself in glory with his tenure as a power minister. That is like stating the obvious. His performance was.
Moreover, you don't need my permission to speak. You are the executive editor.
I know, but you are the person who is the main cameraman. But what I am saying is, it's not often that your performance as a minister is so bad that even your brother is like Hobode, and like please make some way for somebody else. And again, I'm not insinuating anything. I'm not making any false claims by saying that James Sangma's tenure as a power minister was eventful, to say the least. But again, I think I am not very sure about. I think I've been reading a little bit about the TMC's rise in that region, but I think again. The fact that he is looking for a 4th tenure also shows that
that's going to be a tough battle.
I think he will retain it, all said and done, because at least as an MLA, he still has, and let's not forget, he's the CM's brother.
Exactly.
So the party will also be putting a lot more effort into ensuring.
Conrad Sangma has been campaigning very actively. In fact, in all the constituencies where his family members are contesting, he also campaigned in Dadengri and other constituencies in Garo Hills. But up next we have North Tura constituency, where Conrad Sangma's uncle and NPP MLA Thomas Sangma will be in the fray with TMC's Rupert M. Marak, UDP's Dr. Pilne A. Sangma, JDU's Bina Rosalind Sangma, Congress's Billy Kid M. Sangma, and BJP's Adam Kid M. Sangma I'm not sure if Bilikid Sangma and Adamkid Sangma are related, but it would be interesting if they are, because one of them is a Congress candidate, whereas the other one is contesting on a BJP ticket.
So I think I'll just add here, just after I said that, confidently said that Dadangre is the only place where Sangmas and Maraks are contesting against each other. Lo and behold, North Tura turns out to be exactly same, with more Maraks and more Sangmas against each other. But see, that I mean, I don't. This is not my attempt to make fun or mockery of any community. This is also the reason why we are focusing on this is also because we want to burst this idea that tribes vote together, or there is a herd mentality amongst everybody votes for the same person. And that because this is a very good example that you can be from the same clan, you can be from the same community, but that doesn't mean that there cannot be any differences.
Exactly.
So it's not like every Sangma will vote for a Sangma and every Marak will only vote for a Marak. This is more than anything, this is ample proof that the rather lazy ideas of vote banks or is what it is, what we called it. It's lazy, and this does not take care of the differences within the community or within the clan. So this is again this is, I think, again, so I mean, when we say the clash, but we stand by saying clash of Meghalaya clans, because again this is the fourth person, if I am including the CM, that includes Conrad Sangma, his brother-in-law Sanjay Sangma, James Sangma, his uncle Thomas Sangma. So that's 4 of them. And not to mention that when we said that 2 MPs in Meghalaya, one being Vincent Pala, the other one is Agatha Sangma, who is, if you in case you don't know, the Agatha Sangma is Conrad Sangma and James Sangma's sister.
Okay.
So,
but our list, there's more in our list. Next, we have Salman Para constituency, where Conrad Sangma's cousin, so there's one more, Ian Botham Sangma is contesting on an NPP ticket. He will be competing against TMC candidate and former MLA from Salman Para, Winnerson D. Sangma, Congress's Sinbath Marak, UDP's Ronald Rickman Sangma, and BJP's Boston Marak. Again, Sangmas and Marak from this constituency as well.
Can we cut that part where we said, come on, this is the only seat where.
If not anything else, the names of the candidates and the name of the constituency itself is quite interesting. We have Ian Botham Sangma, then Winnerson, Sinbath Marak. So Meghalaya is known for having such interesting names. So last but not least, we have Conrad Sangma, who is contesting from South Tura Assembly constituency. The most, I think, this is going to be the most interesting constituency to look out for. Now, what makes the constituency interesting is that here the battle is between Conrad Sangma and BJP's Bernard and Marak. Meanwhile, the Congress has fielded Brezenzil CH Marak, UDP has fielded John Leslie K. Sangma, and the TMC has fielded Richard M. Marak. But I believe all eyes will be on Conrad Sangma, who has a reputation to maintain, and Bernard Marak, who is up for revenge for all the allegations on him. Amit, I'm sure you are.
This is why. This is I mean, I'll not be lying. I'll not be lying if I said this is my most favorite. See, there is every chance that it falls on its face and Conrad Sangma emerges on top. Absolutely, no doubt about that. But I don't think this would have been. I'm not sure if this would have been the lineup if what conspired in Rimpu Bagan and what happened with Bernard Marak had not happened. See, the BJP took a very
we wouldn't have been talking about this, in fact.
Maybe, yeah, that's what maybe not, because we would have talked about like, oh, good seat, but unlikely. But now what has happened is, see, the BJP, I credit to BJP here, at least for now. I mean, see, if the court upholds him guilty, it's another matter. We are not the court, so we can't pass any judgment. For now, he is just another person who's accused of a crime which is not been, he's not been convicted of. So
innocent until proven guilty.
Exactly, which is, I mean, why should we not treat everybody like that for that matter? But the point here is when he was, booked and when he was found absconding and he was found in UP, as I said earlier, it could have been very much, BJP could have washed their hands of him and he could have been like, another leader who's lost in the. But BJP maintained their faith. Sanbor Sholai came on record and defended him, which at that time was a big deal, and it took see, let's not forget, at that time the BJP was feeling a lot of heat from people, because I call it confirmation bias, but when we like to believe things about our opponents, whether it is true or not, right? So if you tell BJP that a Congress leader has done something, they are more likely to believe it. Same thing happened here. The NPP supporters, the TMC supporters, they were all guns blazing against Bernard Marak because they were more than happy to believe what is being charged against him. But the BJP kept its faith. I think they also realized that beyond a lot of noise and a lot of sensational headlines, there wasn't much material in the, and they kept him the faith in him. And that's why I think part of the fact that BJP kept their faith in him also explains why. I'm sure he got like good legal support and stuff like that, which is why he was able to get out of jail by November itself. And the BJP did not be like, okay, now that you are out of jail, work in the background, work at a grassroots level. Because let's not forget, when we also went to Rimpu Bagan in the region over there to do stories, the local people were not out with axes and guns against Bernard Marak. They liked him. They always said that he was a good leader. So at his worst, the people had not forgiven forsaken him. So when he came back, the BJP saw in him a leader who could not only rejuvenate the party in Garo Hills, and as you have said time and again, Garo Hills remains BJP's highest chance of increasing its presence. And if you have only 2 MLAs, the only way is up. So if they even if they win 4 seats, for example, they can say that they have doubled their seats, right? So, and I think they see the highest chance of that happening in Garo Hills. So this is as much a declaration of intent. See, this is what I mean. This is where I found the so-called alliance to be so fascinating. You put the BJP's most powerful leader. I mean, apart from A.L. Hek and Sanvar Shulai are not powerful in the sense that they can retain their seats, but they are not somebody who command like the entire party. Bernard Marak has emerged as the most vocal anti Conrad Sangma and anti NPP voice in the run up to elections. And he's been making statements almost every day without fail. He was the one who was asking for salaries to be released before Christmas. He was the one who's been raising the point of Garo Hills Autonomous Council employees not getting money for months on end. So he's been talking about this. He's been the one who started promoting this idea that the center has been giving money, the NPP government is keeping all the money, whether it is in terms of Jal Jeevan Mission, whether in terms of electrification projects and all. So this is something that Bernard Marak has been doing, and he's been doing it ably. That said, do I think will he be able to beat the CM?
I think he's quite confident, at least he says so.
But that's the thing, it will be a battle lost if he himself is not confident, right? So he has nothing to lose by not being confident. That said, I'll be shocked. I'll be shocked if Conrad Sangma loses the seat, because I think that's what I'm saying. See, what I'm saying is, it's not that you don't see CMs losing their seats; they lose their CM-ship. The party may not come to power, but how often do we see a chief minister losing the seat?
Yes, we in fact we are seeing Mukul Sangma giving up his traditional bastion and then contesting from another from a different constituency and then winning from that constituency.
Exactly. So and again, but I think what I find and which will happen, I will not be surprised if that happens, is after this, when BJP and NPP get together, whether as NEDA,
that is very likely,
whether as NEDA or whether as NDA or MDA, whichever version it takes, the fact that they put Conrad Sangma against they put Bernard Marak against Conrad Sangma is more than anything BJP's way of saying that we will not play second fiddle to you. At least if we are going to be allies this time, we will be equal allies. I think BJP wants, if not the state to themselves, they want the state to mimic what is there in Nagaland, where before elections, no debate, no jhanjat, no arguments, no fights, 20 years, 20 hours, 40 years, that kind of split. I think BJP is also trying to get a much bigger. And let's not forget, every time somebody calls BJP anti-Christian or anti-minorities, if BJP has done well in Nagaland, BJP can do well in Meghalaya. If they do well in these 2 elections and later in the year Mizoram is coming up for election, if they do that, then they will also have the argument that we are not anti-Christian because look at how we are voted for in. I mean, that is a generalization, but you know what I mean, right? This will also help BJP a lot in boosting their image. So it's almost as much a battle for image as it is for power.
So BJP has 2 MLAs as of now, but it is likely that the number might increase this time. I've done some calculations on the number of seats and the constituencies being contested. But before we move ahead, our correspondent Princess Giri Rashia interviewed Bernard Marak during a campaign where he expressed confidence in coming out as a victor. Please listen into what he had to say.
No, it's not going to be a setback because people know the truth, and ultimately the truth has prevailed. And we believe in the judicial system, and like there is no enough evidence as they have claimed, and it is really awkward for the CM because he has even declared in the assembly that they have enough evidence against all these cases that has been framed, but the court has ruled out, and this is a fact, and this is the reality which people know. That is why people have prayed for me, people have stood by me, people have supported me financially, morally, through prayers, and all the people who wants change are with me. They are not going to sell their votes for money. Yes, so it's not going to impact much because people know the truth.
Do you also feel that this was a ploy set up by your opponent, because the Chief Minister Conrad Sangma will also be your contender for the upcoming election? So do you think that he saw you as a challenge, hence made up such kind of allegations against you, or what is your thought?
Yeah, it is a ploy. It is a ploy. It is a conspiracy against me, and we knew about it before it happened. Even our leaders know about it, and that is why my leaders never gave up on me, because they know what Conrad was doing, what he was doing with his government departments, the police, the administration, and it has gone against him at this point. And a great change is going to come after the visit of our Honorable Prime Minister and Honorable Home Minister. So we can expect change now. And we have been part of MGA, but we have been treated as treated stepmotherly, and this is not going to be tolerated by our leaders. So a great change is coming, a great wave is coming. Yes, yes. No, it's not going to be a setback because people know the truth. And
now, among the three families that we mentioned, we saw 12 out of 60 constituencies being contested by the Lingdos and the Sangmas. Home Minister Amit Shah had also recently attacked the Sangmas for family politics. In fact, the BJP has been very vocal against family politics. We have the biggest example in the centre. Amit, I'm sure you have some inputs here. But
yeah. I've just had a bone to pick and a throat to clear. That's all. That's okay.
Okay. Before we move forward, let us quickly update you on the voting trend. We still have numbers from 3 p.m. We are waiting for the 5 p.m. figures, but we'll keep you we'll update you as soon as we have them. Till 3 p.m. Meghalaya had seen a voter turnout of 63.57%, whereas Nagaland saw a turnout of 73.22%. These are the figures from 3 p.m. Polling is being carried out. Well, officially polling must have been completed by 4 p.m. but it was carried out for 59 constituencies in Meghalaya and 60 constituencies in Nagaland. Voting began today at 7 a.m. and was supposed to continue till 4 p.m. I would like to mention to our viewers that polling for Sohyong Assembly constituency in Meghalaya was postponed following the demise of the state's former Home Minister and United Democratic Party candidate from the seat HDR Lingdo. He died of a cardiac arrest on February 20. Meanwhile, we have update coming in that the chief electoral officers of both Meghalaya and Nagaland will be holding a press briefing. The Nagaland press briefing will be held at 6:30 p.m. whereas the Meghalaya press briefing will take place at 7 p.m. Before we move forward, now let's take a look at the big fights in Nagaland. First up, we have Tui in Nagaland's Wokha district. When former Naga Students Federation leader Senchomu Lotha led thousands of his supporters through Wokha town on February 8, it became clear that the election would not be a cakewalk or walk in the park for BJP heavyweight and six-time MLA Y. Patton. The stakes rose higher when violence was reported in pockets of Tui, prompting the district administration to impose section 144 of the CRPC till March 3rd as a precautionary measure. Patton appears to be an unshakable mountain in Tui, a constituency reserved for scheduled tribe candidates, although public sentiment appears to be with the JDU candidate in Lothal, who contested unsuccessfully in 2018. Next in our list of big fights in Nagaland, we have a king, a minister and an engineer who are locked in a three-cornered contest in Tizit, a constituency along the state's border where with Assam that is ravaged by drug abuse. Notably, it is also the site of the botched military operation in Oting village, which left 14 civilians dead. This time we have an intriguing battle on the cards. The Ang of Oting, Ang is the Naga term for king of Oting, Tawang Konyak, will be contesting the polls on an NPF ticket. He will be challenged by the incumbent BJP MLA P. Paiwang Konyak, who is a cabinet minister in the outgoing government, and Congress's T. Thomas Konyak in a three-cornered contest. 38-year-old Tawang has promised special assistance for victims of the anti-militancy operation, which resulted in the deaths and injury of people from his village. The Ang, however, has his task out as the incumbent is eyeing a third state term from the constituency. Up next in big fights, we have Dimapur 3, a constituency known for its diverse set of people. The NDPP has pinned its hope on Nari Shakti awardee 47-year-old Hekani Jakhalu, the youngest female candidate in the political fray. Jakhalu, who is the founder of the NGP YouthNet, however, has her task cut out in the form of independent candidate GB Kahuto Chishi and sitting MLA Azeto Zimomi. While Chishi appears to be extremely popular among the masses due to his non-political background, Zimomi is the more established politician. He has won elections from the constituency thrice. However, he won in 2018 on a NPF ticket, while this time he is contesting under the LJP banner. If the woman candidate Hekani wishes to win the elections, she has to do better than the former NDPP candidate Tokeho, who could only muster 40% of the vote share. And if Hekani Jakhalu wins from this constituency, she will become the first female woman MLA from Nagaland. Next, we have Bhandari constituency, another constituency under Wokha, where we have battle of two Kikons, Molumo versus Achemmuno. While Molumo, a Nagaland BJP stalwart who has published 2 books of poetry and takes credit for state-of-the-art ambulances in his constituency, his lawyer turned politician challenger, Achemmuno, will be looking to capitalize on the anti-incumbency factor. However, it remains to be seen whether the NPF man can upend Molumo, who remains fairly popular within his party. Next in big fights, we have Western Angami constituency. In 2018, Western Angami was swept by the NPF party, which secured 38.8% votes, while the NDPP managed to bag 25.2%. The BJP got 15.3% votes and NPP secured 6.9% votes. This time, the NDPP is looking to challenge the NPF supremacy by giving the ticket to Salhu Tuo Nuo Kruse. Pardon me if I mispronounce the name. It's Salhotu Wono Kruse, a social worker with over 24 years of experience working with various NGOs and civil societies. Kruse, who is among only 5 female candidates in the poll fray, is a political greenhorn, but popular among constituents of her activism. However, she faces a tall task in the form of sitting MLA Kene Zakhao Nakro, who is, pardon me if I have misspelled the name again.
Just pardon us throughout.
Who is contesting as an independent candidate this time. Up next, we have Rosie Thompson, a social worker contesting under the Congress banner, is yet another woman seeking to break the proverbial glass ceiling in Nagaland. Thompson will contest from Tening, a constituency that has 5 other candidates for the MLA slot. Tening is one of the 18 assembly seats won by the NDPP in 2018 elections. However, there is a twist in the tale here, as the sitting MLA Namreen Chang is contesting on an NCP ticket, while the ruling NDPP has given the ticket to Tari Ziliang. NPF and NPP candidates are also in the fray in Tening. The lone BJP candidate from Kohima district, Kropol Vitsu, will be contesting from 15th Southern Angami 2 Assembly constituency in the assembly election. Interestingly, Vitsu only got the nod to contest polls after Kohima's BJP unit staged a protest demanding a single seat out of 6 in Kohima, considered an NDPP bastion in the state. While former MLA Vitsu says it is his duty to win the election, he will be challenged by NCP candidate Zale Nebkha and JDU's Vipopal Kinso. Kinso, the first person from Kidima village to enter the poll fray, is a former president of the Naga People's Front and retains some of the popularity from his days as a student leader. However, it remains to be seen whether he can make a dent in electoral politics. Nagaland BJP President Temjem Imna Along was also recently seen campaigning hand in hand with Assam Chief Minister and NEDA convener Himanta Biswa Sarma for Along Taki seat. A social media star on his own right, the ensuing polls will be a testimony to whether Imna Along's popularity translates to the real world. A lone candidate stands his way, Lanu Longchar from the JDU. Not much is known about 59-year-old candidate Longchar, apart from the fact that he is a social worker, wed to a government servant wife, as he has declared assets worth almost 5 crore rupees. He appears to be quite well to do. However, a contest against the state BJP chief might prove to be too big a hurdle for this political greenhorn. NDPP candidate Kekri Heloi Yom, who is one of the more interesting characters in the political fray, started his career as a part-time newspaper hawker when he was pursuing his education. Yome, who will be contesting elections from the Northern Angami Assembly constituency, lost by-elections in 2017 to former Chief Minister and NPF heavyweight Shirozali Leditsu. Again in 2018, he lost to NPF MLA Krehu Leditsu. Despite losing the polls against the father-son duo, Yom says he is determined to win the 2023 polls against sitting MLA Krehu this time. Kahuli Sema, the outgoing engineer-in-chief of the Nagaland Public Works Department, is contesting the polls on a BJP ticket. Sema is noteworthy for being the first woman engineer-in-chief among the Sumi community and the second among the Nagas. Sema's lone challenger is Atoizu, who is 71-year-old and contesting on an NCP ticket. Picto, very much a member of the political establishment in the state. In 2018, Picto won the election on an NPF ticket, but is contesting under the NCP banner this time. The NCP is one of the new entrants in the Nagaland and looking to make a mark this time around. Interestingly, Picto's former party, the NPF, has not fielded a single female candidate this time. Well, those were the big fights that we are looking forward to in Nagaland. We have already discussed about the big fights in Meghalaya and the interesting constituencies, and like I mentioned, we called it Clash of Clans. We are still waiting updates of the polls in Meghalaya, the voter turnout numbers in Meghalaya and Nagaland. However, we do have numbers till 3 p.m. Which were where Meghalaya was at 63.57% and Nagaland was at 73.22%. This brings us to the end of the live session, as we will be cutting it short to go to air the press conferences of the chief electoral officers of both Nagaland and Meghalaya. And Amit, before we wrap up, I'd like to bring you in if you have to say anything.
No, I mean, we will also go live after exit polls, because we just received input that all the exit poll results will be coming out around 7 o'clock.
Okay.
We don't have the resources for our own exit polls, so our exit polls is like, usne bola and he said and she said, but there are other more credible places who have the resources to do so exit polls. So we will do a quick live later. We will let you know the time in a bit, so stay tuned to our YouTube channel. It will be a short program. We will only be looking at the numbers, not delving too much into them, because the real results will come only on the second month, so I don't want to waste too much of your time on that. But we will do a short live just to update our viewers on what the patterns are looking like. And yes, as Kalyan said, we will be going live for the press conferences of the CEOs in all the two states and across the two states, so stay tuned for that.
Yes, and that brings us to a wrap of this special live coverage of the Meghalaya and Nagaland Assembly elections. We will update you on the voter turnout trend as soon as we get the updates. And for those who have not liked, share and subscribe to EastMojo, so please do it. And we are available on all social media platforms, including Facebook, Twitter, YouTube of course, and Instagram. And also subscribe to our website and support independent journalism and free journalism. For those, and lastly, thank you everyone for joining us during the special live coverage, and keep watching EastMojo, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you for watching.